Hi guys, and welcome to yet another true crime video. For those of you who are just joining us, hi, my name is Bwengi and I post true crime videos on this channel. So if that's something that you're interested in, please click on my channel and check it out because I have some videos posted on there already. And with that being said, this is True Crime with Bwengi. So today's case took place in Elsie's River, which is a suburb in Cape Town. But before I get into it, you guys already know that I have to issue out my usual disclaimer that I mean absolutely no disrespect to anybody that I'm going to be talking about in this video, as well as all the families that were and are affected by this case. This video is purely for educational purposes, and all the information that I'm going to be talking about in this video was gotten off of the internet and simply compiled into one video. Also, I want to give you guys some content warnings. There will be mentions of sexual assault of a minor and a toddler, to be exact, and this case is about the murder of a 3-year-old, so proceed with caution. If you don't want to watch this video, I completely understand, and I'm pretty sure that I'll be seeing you again in my other videos. And with that being said, let's get right into the case. So today's case, as I've already mentioned, took place in Elsie's River, which is a suburb in Cape Town. And in this suburb lived a couple, Juanita Peters and Aaron Forey. And they had been together for over 20 years. The couple had been blessed with 4 children, the eldest being 21 years old at the time of this case, and the youngest being 3-year-old Courtney Peters. So Juanita and Aaron lived with 3 of their children in a house belonging to Aaron's sister, while their 16-year-old daughter was living with a church lady on the same street. Aaron's sister also lived in the house with them together with her son, while her daughter Marsha lived in the back room also belonging to her, and she lived with her husband and her baby. Aaron Forey also had a friend called Mortimer Saunders who also lived in the same house with them, so I guess it's pretty safe to say this was a full house. Mortimer and Juanita had a pretty rocky relationship. It is said that Mortimer would constantly try to ruin things between Juanita and Aaron, and this just didn't sit well with Juanita. Mortimer would take advantage of Aaron when he was drunk because he knew that when Aaron was drunk, he would become very rude. So he would tell him some stuff about Juanita, knowing that this would make the couple fight. But nonetheless, he was Aaron's childhood friend, and it kind of made sense for him to move in with them. You know what I mean? Yeah. Although he and Juanita didn't get along, once he had moved in, Juanita would occasionally do some laundry for him because he would pay her. And Courtney, Juanita's youngest daughter, would regularly go to Mortimer's room to watch some DSTV and sometimes also play with his daughter, who is not mentioned in any of the case papers. In May 2017, Juanita was working as a cleaner at a Hungry Lion franchise in Pero, while Aaron was working at a factory in Epping. Mortimer also had a job, but he had been on leave from the 28th of April, and the leave was to end on the 8th of May. On Thursday, the 4th of May, Juanita woke up and started preparing herself for work. Aaron and his sister had already left for work, and the only other adults that were there in the house was Mortimer and Aaron's sister's son, who was asleep in his mother's bedroom. So when Courtney woke up, she breastfed her and then continued to make some porridge for her, and then she also realized that her 6-year-old son, whom I'll be referring to as A, was also sick, so she decided to keep him home from school on that particular morning. Once her children were done eating, Juanita just kissed them goodbye and then she left for work. But before she could leave, Courtney asked her to bring some party pockets from work, as she usually would ask her mother to, and Juanita just smiled and left the house. So as you guys can probably already tell, yes, Juanita did leave her children unsupervised or under each other's care, I guess. But she said that she would usually ask Marsha to babysit and she would pay her for babysitting. But in that week, she didn't have enough money to pay Marsha, so she didn't ask Marsha to take care of her children. She would just leave Courtney alone, and it just so happened that on this day, A was also home from school. At around 8:30 a.m., Marsha, the children's cousin who lived in the back room with her husband and baby, went to the main house. So when she got in, she saw that A was sitting alone in the main room, and she asked him where Courtney was. A's response was that Courtney was in Mortimer's room watching TV, and because this was usual, Marsha didn't think much of it. She then left the house, I think to go to the post office, and when she returned a few minutes after 9, Mortimer was now standing outside his room. So Marsha asked him if Courtney was still in his room, and Mortimer just said no, she left. I don't know where she went, but she left my room a while ago. And Marsha didn't think much of this because Courtney did occasionally visit some neighbors nearby, and they would, play together. So she didn't stress out until one of the neighbors that Courtney usually goes to came by looking for Courtney. Marsha became a little bit worried because she did think that Courtney had went to this neighbor's place. So she sent A out to various places to look for Courtney, and he came back saying that Courtney was at none of those places. And they continued searching and searching and searching until in the late afternoon when Juanita came back home from work. But the search still wasn't that big of a deal because Marsha also thought that it could be a possibility that Juanita could have taken Courtney with her to work. So she was looking, but not frantically. So when Juanita came back home that day, A ran to her and he told her that Courtney was gone. And of course she panicked and ran back home to put her bags down, and she went to Marsha to ask where Courtney was. And when Marsha told her that she thought that she had taken Courtney with her to work, she just knew that Marsha hadn't seen Courtney at all that day, and that's when she began frantically searching for her daughter. After about 3 hours of searching for Courtney, she finally decided to report the matter to the police, and thereafter continued searching for her daughter with the community. They walked up to Vasco, Rederbach, and Goodwood, and there was still no sign of Courtney. Juanita didn't give up though, and she continued searching for her daughter. And on some of the days, Mortimer would also help, and the community would split into groups. So Mortimer would go with a certain group to certain locations, and it was said that he would occasionally lead these groups and be like, oh, let's go look over there, let's go look over there, let's go look over there. He was pretty active in the searches for Courtney, which was, The search for Courtney continued, but it was still unsuccessful. And 9 days after Courtney's disappearance, the family was informed by the police that Courtney's body had been found. However, they were not allowed to go and identify the body because the police were not 100% sure if this was indeed Courtney Peters' body. The following morning, on the 14th of May, Captain Taylor went to fetch Juanita, Aaron, and Aaron's sister for a DNA test that was going to be conducted at the police station. And while they were there, Captain Taylor also asked Juanita to call Mortimer in. At this point, Juanita didn't know that the police had a CCTV footage that showed Mortimer carrying what seemed to be a tiny body across town and going to drop it off where Courtney's body was found. And she just thought that they wanted Mortimer in because he was one of the adults that lived in the house, but that was not the case. So Courtney called Mortimer and told him to avail himself, and Mortimer started panicking. He asked her why the police wanted him there, and because Juanita didn't know, she just told him to avail himself. It was not a big deal, just show up. And so Mortimer promised Juanita that he would show up, but he never did. The police also showed Juanita a snapshot of the CCTV footage and asked her if she knew who that person was, who the person in the footage was or in the photograph was. But Juanita said she didn't know. Of course, this was a lie, which she later confessed to, and said that she couldn't believe that such a decent, well-behaved and quiet person would be behind such a horrific crime, And I do think Juanita should be excused because there was just a lot of things happening around her, and I do think that she was just overwhelmed by all the shock and all the information that she was receiving on that particular day. I just think she should be forgiven and excused from that lie, you know. Mortimer didn't go back to the house that day, and the police were now actively looking for him because he was acting pretty suspicious. Even if the CCTV footage was nothing, he was acting suspicious at this point, you know. And at around 11 p.m. on the very same night, Constable Bradley Spochter received an anonymous call from a lady who was asking if they were looking for Mortimer Saunders. The lady gave the constable the address of where Mortimer was hiding, and that's where the police found Mortimer and arrested him. He was actually still wearing the same clothes that he was wearing in the CCTV footage when he was arrested. He actually cooperated throughout, and he even gave the police a confession telling them the full story of how everything went down. So here's Mortimer's story. So he said that on May 4th, 2017, he woke up and went to the bathroom, and on his way from the bathroom back to his bedroom, he actually saw that Courtney and her brother A were still asleep. So he just continued his way back to the bedroom and tried to get some more sleep. About 10 to 15 minutes after getting back to his room, Courtney came by and she said that she wanted to watch some TV. So Mortimer let her watch some TV for a couple of minutes before kicking her out of his room, telling her that he needed some more sleep. And Courtney did leave, but then a couple of minutes after that she came back again wanting to watch some more TV. So Mortimer says at this point he was irritated, and he was also compounded by his ill emotions towards Juanita. And so that's when he decided to poison the kid, because he was compounded by his ill emotions for the mother and irritated that a 3-year-old wanted to watch TV in his room. He claims that his intention was only to make Courtney sick, and so he took some ant poison that he had bought prior to the incident because of an ant problem that they were experiencing, and he mixed it with some water and gave it to Courtney to drink, and she didn't want to, but upon telling her to drink it, she did drink the water. She then started coughing and turning blue, and this was when he panicked. He slapped her, then closed her mouth using a towel, and then strangled her. Once she was dead, he decided that he wanted to get rid of the body, but before getting rid of the body, he wanted to make it seem like the child had been raped, and that's when he pulled her denim shorts down and her panty and penetrated her using 3 of his fingers. He said that this aroused him, and so he took out his privates and put it on Courtney's thigh, but he claims that he didn't penetrate her using his privates. He then took her body, put it in plastic, and then discarded it in the bushes behind a factory in Epping. And I don't know whether this is the same factory that Aaron was working at, but it's really disturbing to think that Mortimer could have possibly discarded Courtney's body behind her father's workplace, you know. So he was charged with rape and murder, and in court he pleaded not guilty to rape but guilty to unlawfully and intentionally performing a sexual act with a corpse. So his submission was that he only did this once Courtney had died, but the court didn't believe his story though. There was blood found on Courtney's privates, and this indicated that the injuries happened before she died, and there was also traces of semen found inside her privates, meaning that Mortimer lied about only penetrating her using his fingers. And this semen that was found inside Courtney was actually an exact match to Mortimer's DNA. So the court rejected his submission that he only penetrated the deceased digitally. The fact that nobody heard her scream in the house proves that he did put some strain on her, and this is in line with the fact that he did say that he closed her mouth with a towel and also strangled her. He also pleaded not guilty to murder, but guilty to murder without it being premeditated. So I think he pleaded guilty to 2nd-degree murder, but I'm not quite sure on that. But anyways, the court didn't believe that his only intention was to make Courtney sick, because One, there was so much poison in the water that some of the poison was still present in Courtney's blood and bile even after 9 days. And two, everybody that lived in that house said that they didn't have an ant problem, and Mortimer said that he had bought this ant poison for the ant problem. Also, I think it's important to mention that it is said in the court papers that I read that Mortimer had actually bought this ant poison 8 months prior to this tragic event. So some people believe that he planned it out for an entire 8 months. Yeah, but some also believe that his intention was to rape Courtney, and when things didn't go as planned, he decided to cover his tracks up by killing her. But nonetheless, fact remains, he killed her, whether it was by poisoning or strangling, and whether it was premeditated or not, it was still a murder of a child, which also involved the rape of a child, and not just any child, guys. A 3-year-old. A 3-year-old. The court didn't approve of his guilty pleas, hence there was a trial. So I'm pretty sure you guys know this already, but when you plead guilty, you manage to skip trial and go straight to sentencing. But see, Mortimer pleaded guilty to things that he was not charged with. So basically, he pleaded not guilty to his charges, and so it went to trial. Because Mortimer was charged with rape and murder. He was not charged with the unlawful and intentional performance of a sexual act with a corpse and second-degree murder. So yeah, he basically pleaded not guilty, hence there was a trial. I hope that makes sense. I don't know why I felt the need to include that, but I hope that makes sense. And he was found guilty for both charges and given 2 life sentences for the rape and murder of Courtney Peters. It is so sad. This is one of the saddest cases I've ever read about. I've never read cases involving such young people, and I'm really saddened by this one. It's really sad, and I completely understand if this video doesn't get many views, because a lot of people really don't like reading or knowing about cases involving minors, let alone toddlers. So yeah, I really understand. This is really sad, and if you're just as sad as I am, I hope you get over it, and I'm sorry for making you sad by posting this video. But yeah, I just hope Courtney Peters' beautiful soul rests in peace, and I hope her family finds peace. Yeah. Anyways, that brings us to the end of today's video, you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, or at least found it informative, because there was really nothing to enjoy about this case. Yeah, I hope you found it informative. If you did, don't forget to hit that thumbs up button down below, and also comment all your thoughts about this case in the comment section down below. And while you're at it, also tell me which cases you'd like me to cover in the comment section down below. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel and click on the notification bell so that you get notified each time I post a new upload, and you don't miss out, because you don't want to miss out on any of my future uploads. And with that being said, I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye.